Hello and welcome to Off Track, sponsored by Noble Dude Clothing. I'm your host, Dave Neal, and this week, fresh from a sweltering Thruxton, we're joined by Junior Superstock Championship leader Max Cook. Max is a great lad with a big future, and it was really good to have him on the podcast and find out about his background and his second season in the Junior Superstock Championship. Don't forget to give us a follow on the socials, search for Off Track and Off Track Podcast at Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Like, share, tell your mates, spread the love, make sure people get to know about us. A big thank you once again to UGGLY&CO for letting us use their rider lounge. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Max Cook. Enjoy.
Hello.
Oh, you see, you're supposed to do an introduction first, Max. You know that, don't you?
No, I'm just testing it.
Are you testing it? Are you testing that now? You're looking at the little sound meter?
Yeah, I quite like that, actually.
I suppose I've got to do an introduction now, haven't I?
Yeah.
See, you've already started talking now, you see. This is the best bit of it. I don't even need to edit that bit. That's all going in. You know, you know that. Exactly, brilliant. You see.
So you got quite a good bit of kit there.
It's a nice bit of kit. It's not cheap, but, you know, it's decent.
I've not had that. I've not seen anything like that before.
It's like a little portable recording studio.
I wasn't really a music kid.
Me neither.
I was at school. And
no idea, but that comes as part of the job. So
it fascinates me a little bit.
They are. You see, there's all sorts of things you can do with that. It's like these microphones. You hold that microphone just a little bit higher.
Up here?
Yeah, just that's exactly it.
Okay.
Yeah, just comes in like that. And I've got to sit up straight as well because the guys are taking photos, so there we go. So anyway, hello and welcome to Off Track. I'm your host, Dave Neal, and we're down at Thruxton. And I mean, what a fantastic day. The weather's incredible. And I'm absolutely delighted to say Max Cook, Binch Racing, powered by UGGLY&CO. How are you, mate?
I'm really good, thank you. A bit hot.
Isn't it?
We're in a box trailer. I know you guys can't see this, but we're in a little box trailer, and it's about 34 degrees.
It's got to be at least 34 degrees.
There's no wind, and we're on an airfield. I mean, I love it though.
No wind on an airfield. Who knew?
I know, right?
You go to Silverstone, you come away with windburn most of the time. You don't intend to get sunburn at Silverstone. So you think, hang on a minute. But what we have to say, first and foremost, thank you to the guys at UGGLY&CO for letting us use the trailer. And it's such a fantastic place to host a podcast. Nice comfy leather chairs, you know, the nice library backdrop that we've got. Makes you feel quite important, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, no, it's like you're at home in
Jesus, where do you live?
In the living room.
You've got a stately home.
Well, they got a rustic carpet, massive telly. They got a couple sofas in here.
So do you live in the West Wing in the West Country then? With you?
I mean, not really. I like to think so, but I don't think it is.
So, what an absolute pleasure. I've been trying to do this for a while now, and we finally got to round 6, and we've finally managed to pin you down for a chat. Delighted that you could join us, Max. Congratulations on the season so far. It's been an incredible start to the Stock 600 season with the Binch Racing team. But what I want to do first is just roll that back a little bit to the start of your career on the smaller bikes, and then we'll go through the Spanish series and then coming back and sort of a little bit on the highs and lows, because it's not a straightforward path and it's not as easy as people think. It's a difficult old sport at times, isn't it, as well, you know, but coming out the other side of that, you're doing a fantastic job so far. So if you could talk me through your time on the mini bikes first, where did it all start for you?
I'll take you right to the start. Right from the start. So my granddad, on my dad's side of the family, he is a European rallycross champion back in 80s and 90s. So racing was quite a big part of my dad's life growing up. He never actually raced himself, but he's got a motorbike and he'd done a few track days, and F1 and MotoGP was always on the telly for me growing up as a kid. And for my second birthday, my granddad, he's quite crazy. He's quite a nutter. And he bought a mini moto for my second birthday. I think it was like, I don't know if it's like as a joke or what, but my mum and dad were like, I don't know what they thought of it. They weren't best pleased anyway. So that bike was in the garage for years, because they're like, he's 2 years old, you know. Even when he's 10, he's not going to be able to ride this. But anyway, I was fascinated with my dad's motorbike. We were always cleaning it. My dad would ride it and clean everything. I was fascinated with when he'd come home from work on his bike. I'd wait for him so I could undo his boots, because I like the clasp on the motorbike boots. And I'd always have Hot Wheels cars and toy bikes, and I'd just be, just fascinated. And then, when I was out in the garage with my dad, as I was growing, he'd sit me on the back of his bike, waiting until I could reach the foot pegs on the back of his bike. And the day finally came, and he got me a helmet, he got me a little biker jacket, and what else did he get? He got these little handles which wrapped around his waist so I could hold on to him, and a little strap which basically connected me and him together. Anyway, we went riding round for a bit, and I loved it. And we pulled into this hangar at an old airfield, and there was mini motos going around, and we couldn't believe it what we came across. And every Sunday they did young lads. What was it? It's like a mini moto morning on the Sunday.
Okay.
So
was that Lavington or somewhere like that?
Yeah, M4 karting. That's where it was. M4 karting. So the next day, actually, I remember Dad fired up the bike, and I got to ride it up and down in the lorry bay behind Asda, just to make sure I could ride it, and I could, and I enjoyed it. And I remember my mum was there to watch. And yeah, no, it was really cool. And then basically I went from there every Sunday morning. We went there and we made friends. And Charlie Nesbitt, who's here in Stockthal now, he's one of the first sort of friends I got, because at the time he was amazing. Like, I remember now that first time and seeing Charlie there, I couldn't believe how fast he was. And he was someone who I've always looked up to. And Paul, Charlie's dad, has helped my dad so much with everything, and got him into racing and how to fix bikes, and give him so much advice. And then we went racing with him the next year at Fab racing, and I was in the novice class, and I won my first year of novice class. So yeah, things were quite good. And then you're hooked. And my dad was like, we like doing this, and I get to spend quality time with my dad. And
brilliant.
So yeah, and that's where it just went from there through Fab. So yeah, that's
I mean, Fab's such a proving ground, isn't it? You look at Charlie Nesbitt, you look at Josh Watley, who's come through that way, Scott Ogden, the guys that have come through just after you, and the guys that preceded you, your Charlie Nesbitts, your Fraser Rogers, Scott Redding, Brad Smith, Danny Kent,
Brad Ray.
Brad Ray did, of course he did, yeah. I remember Brad Ray came through it as well. It's such a production line of fast young riders, and you're, well, without a doubt, part of that as well, which is fantastic for you and your career progression. Where did you go from? I mean, championships in the mini motos, how many did you win?
I didn't win any. I didn't win any championships at lower level.
Okay.
So for grassroots, I was always runner-up. So I was in the mini moto category for ages, and for about 3 years. And the last year, I got runner-up to Charlie Atkins.
Oh, okay.
He's still racing now.
He is. I wasn't trying to trip you up on that. I just couldn't. When I did my read, I couldn't find the records to see what it said. So I didn't want to trip you up on that. And then you see some that come through, and they were 160 champ or the Metro Kit champions and all this kind of thing. And you just think, okay, I figured you would have done, but.
I were up there.
You were there, yeah. You were a contender.
I was a contender, yeah. Like I won races, but I didn't string it together.
It's fair enough, but you've done that, so you've been able to put races together since. From there, British Talent Cup, Motostar.
In between that, I actually went to Thundersport Super Teams.
Did you really?
So after the Metro 70s, I went to
the Pirelli Super Teams. Another proving ground for great riders.
Yeah, and looking back now, that was the turning point of where my riding ability and everything just escalated.
First time on a big wheel bike and
big tracks
and big everything.
Yeah, that was where everything clicked, I think, because it's not like how it was now. You had to do your ACU license, and you had to get signatures. You had to do enough races to earn, what was it? Because you had to ride with a novice bib. You had to earn enough signatures to get rid of it. You had to do so many races. So I think we did everything, because I think you have to get around 20 signatures. That's 20 races.
Yeah. And it's not easy to do.
There was only 12 races I think the Super Teens did that year. So we had to do 8 club rounds, as well as,
Who did you do those with? North Gloss.
North Gloss, yeah. Mainly North Gloss.
Yeah, because it's your neck of the woods, isn't it? Southwest, so you Bristol based that?
At Swindon.
Swindon based?
Yeah. So we done Castle Combe. And
big proving ground again, isn't it? Like, I've had this conversation many a time. with your Charlie Nesbitts, your Danny Kents, your Fraser Rogers, guys like that, all from the same part of the UK. And you can, a little bit north of that, you throw Jordan Weaving into that as well, who was Motorstar champion back in 2014. Such a nucleus of talent for UK racing. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is quite good. I think a lot of that is because of like M4 karting and Swindon karting. It's a place for kids to start, like actually start, not straight into racing. I think that's got a big part to play in it, for sure.
Opportunity and application.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the opportunity, you can't do it. But you get the opportunity, you have the application, and you practice. Ta-da! Here you go.
Yeah.
That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah. But that was cool because that was the first championship I won. So, I was 12 years old. I was the second youngest winner at that championship to Fraser Rogers, and I was gutted because I was only like a week out.
So there can't have been many days in it.
It was like a week out. So yeah, I was gutted. But it was awesome because I won pretty much every race, and I'd win it by a good margin, and that's just where it all clicked for me on those big tracks. And I remember the first ever round of that track that championship going to Brands Hatch, and me and Dad just had no expectation, and we was right in the bottom of the paddock, our old awning, just everything. We didn't really know what we were doing, and I remember qualifying on pole and couldn't believe it. My dad couldn't believe it either, and then I went on to win the next 3 races, and that was crazy.
Was that the point then that you both thought, hang on a minute, we can do something here? Was that you clicked on the big bike, obviously, when you started at Super Teams, but then to win that championship, to go at such a young age, and goes, did you actually have a point with your dad? Can you remember sort of looking at each other and going, we could make a job out of this?
I think it was then. I think it was definitely that year, because then it changed around, and then there was like important people messaging Dad, and not me because I was too young, messaging Dad and being like, look, do you want to come and ride for us? Getting people actually wanting me, and I think that's where Dad was like, okay, we need to keep going, and then it turned up a notch from there. Everything my dad did, he was so committed to racing. I was riding every week. I was riding all the time, and I got a little brother, James, my younger brother James.
Yeah,
he's only 4 years behind me, so he was riding at that point as well, so I could get to ride when he was riding, and then it just went pretty crazy.
Where did it go from there? What was the next step?
So next step, I came to BSB, came here in the Motorstar is what it was at the time. I actually went straight into the open class. There was 2 classes. You had the standard NSF, which is what now is the British Talent Cup.
Which is the whole class now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it used to be open bikes. They had the KTMs,
XGP
Grand bikes. Yeah.
I remember Josh Watley, he had an ex-Platinum Bay bike, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Maverick Vinales, Platinum Bay.
Yeah.
Moto 3 machine. What was your stock? Which team? Who did you ride for?
I rode for a team called Replicas UK, and we were a really good team to start me off with, really. I was on a Honda, so I was against all the KTMs, so my bike was a bit more underpowered, but it was a good start, good starter level. But it was quite a rough year. My dad didn't enjoy it too much. So in the year after, I went, I guess you could say, down to the standard class, to the British Talent Cup, which was probably the best move. I think one of the best moves what we've made. And
I think that takes some doing as well, because some riders would be, I want to be in that class, I want to be in that class, that's where I need to be, and be all and end all it's a bit like, it's almost in a similar principle, BSB and Stock Foul.
Yeah, I
want to be in BSB. Yeah, but why not enjoy take a step slightly sideways, enjoy that, and then go back and do it that way. And for a rider to consciously make that decision, I think is quite brave.
Yeah, well,
but also quite calculated as well. If you're prepared to do it, you know what's coming.
It was quite a tough decision, because obviously everything really is money at that level. You know, sponsors are hard to get, and you know, rides are expensive, especially when you're racing ex Grand Prix bikes. You know, when you're 13, 14 years old. Yeah. You know, it's expensive. But we had the option to stay on, you know, go on a KTM, go on an updated bike, faster bike. But that was on the limit. My dad was working every day he could, and it was just too much of a risk, I think. And Danny Webb, who I'm really close with, he's the man who I go to for advice. And that's something he says.
You don't get Danny's advice on everything, do you?
Not quite everything.
Thank God for that.
Not quite everything. But he's my hero anyway. And but for riding,
there's some things you need to make your own decisions on.
Yeah. But no, he's brilliant. And,
he's a great lad.
He's so good. And he did say, go one step down to make two more.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah.
And it did work. Totally paid off. I mean, I won that championship, so I won another championship, which is so good. I was with Wilson Racing, and it was such a good year, one of the best years racing. I had my teammate was Charlie Atkins, who's, you know, one of my best friends. Yeah. It was just such a good year. Everything was going right. Every weekend was good, and I think I've still got lap records from that year, which still stands, which is quite good.
That's quite an impressive feat as well, isn't it? Because even when the guys, as we said, that Scott came along, the pace hasn't quite increased, has it?
No.
Well, I was being polite.
It's
the pace at the moment isn't quite what you said. Who else was with you at that time?
I had Thomas Strudwick, Rodriguez.
They were all quick riders in their own right.
Yeah.
Thomas was Moto Rapido, wasn't he?
Yeah.
On that bike, working with Wilf, and Victor Rodriguez. They were mainly it was U3, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So what year was that?
17.
That was 17.
5 years ago.
Yeah. 5. I know. Flies by, doesn't it? I know. Because that's pre sort of Pash, but Swanee would have been in there. Jack Nixon, would they have been around at that time? I'm trying to think, or had they stepped up? They might have gone up to open class at that point.
Nixon, 27. I think they were still in KTM Cup.
Oh, well, they put one behind.
They were behind.
Ah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe they were actually, and then stepped up 18, 19.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, I'm getting older as we sat here.
I know. For 5 years, 2017.
I'm getting thinner as we sit here in this heat. Anyway, it's incredible. What happened after the Motorstar standard class? Because then opportunities started to arise. You were being noted on a more European level.
So
let's say
that year was my golden ticket. Everything fell into place at the right time, and Dorna, MotoGP, they got involved with helping British talent, and along came the British Talent Cup, which was, like I say, it was my golden ticket. I was obviously won the championship. I landed on my feet totally, and I got accepted for the British Talent Cup in the tryouts, and I also got selected for the Red Bull Rookies Cup that year as well. So 2018 was just amazing. I had, I'm trying. I don't know how to explain it to people who don't know what it is, but everyone's on the same bike, in the same team, in the same livery, and you're all under one roof.
Oh, trust me, our listeners are well learned on the realms of motorcycle racing, mate. They know what the Red Bull Rookies Cup is.
Yeah, all right.
It's fine. You're all right with that.
All right then. Oh,
there's a lot of people out there who'll be looking forward to listening to this, who followed your career through Europe and out to the Talent Cup team as well. So we've got a good learned audience.
Oh, good. Oh, excuse my ignorance. Yeah.
Hey, no, it's not a problem. Sorry. It's your first podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is actually.
Taking your podcast cherry. I'm getting good at that with riders in the paddock. It's your first one. That British Talent Cup came about. at the right time for the best of British talent.
Yes.
And I know Rory was put in there and Rory won it, but Rory had come from a different angle, hadn't he? He'd already done Red Bull Rookies Cup. He was probably the more experienced of the guys that were doing it. And it was an unusual one, and it's working out for Rory now, but it seemed like an unusual path at the time. Because he'd done, I think, had he done 2 years of Red Bull Rookies at that point?
3 years.
He'd done 3 years. That was his third season, wasn't it? Your first season. Were you in together?
No,
So he'd done 3 before you got there.
Yeah.
Right. So he'd done 3 years on what is essentially a Grand Prix KTM, to then come into the British Talent Cup on a standard bike. But what a target for you and for Thomas Strudwick that were battling at the time.
Yeah.
Josh Watley, was he at Storm?
They were in it, yeah.
They were in it as well, weren't they,
in
that first year? So it was a packed field of talent. I'm trying to think who else was in it. Again, it's all that time ago. But the front 3 were mainly yourself, Rory, and Thomas Strudwick.
Yeah.
You were the cream of the crop of that age. But then, battling all year. We'll go on to Red Bull Rookies in a second. But you got the call to go to Spain for 2 years, didn't we, with the talent team, which another incredible opportunity. But talk to me about Red Bull Rookies, because I've spent a bit of time with Red Bull Rookies when I was looking after Jordan Weaving. We went out to Misano and see around the awning and how it all works, and you do your little paddle down to to pit lane, and they set the generators up, and it looks fantastic. I'm not 100% convinced that all the bikes are the same, and I'm not going to throw you under the bus with this at all, because that's not fair. I feel that almost the British Talent Cup is on a bit more of a level. I just got a strange feeling with Rookies.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because at Rookies, obviously, you don't look after your bike. They look after your bike, and you do hear people saying about it. I know when Brad Ray was in it, he won the season opener, and then says that his bike wasn't the same ever since he won the race. I got a podium at Saxonbury in Red Bull Rookies, and I don't know. I think after that, I don't know. I don't know if all the tracks that we went to, my weight was a big disadvantage for them tracks, because that year I was in it, I was about 60 kilo, whereas the young little Spanish kids coming through were 40.
No, I remember, because I remember seeing it, and I can't remember when it was. It might have been 19. I think you only from a distance, and this was for 19 when Scott won British Talent Cup at Silverstone. I remember seeing you in the paddock and thinking, Jesus,
that
you'd filled out compared to the other ride. I mean, but you're not big by any stretch, but for those bikes, you really are, which then kind of gave you a little bit of a disadvantage then when we go to the talent team.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's where in World Championship Moto 3, they're about, they're a bit older, 18, 19, so they're all, 60 to 65 kilo anyway.
And we'll probably stay about that.
Yeah, that's right. But just because I was in the junior ones, where, the kids are 13, 14, 15 there, some of them are little, some of them are really
little
small.
Jockeys, aren't they? What age were you when you went that first year in the European talent team?
I was 16.
You were 16 at that point?
Yeah.
So who were your main rivals through that time?
What, in the CV?
In the CV, yeah.
There was a lot of fast guys that first year. It was Yuki Cooney was the fastest one. He was a young Jap. He was probably the fastest junior rider at that time. Unfortunately, it hasn't really worked out for him now. But he was in my team, and I could see all of his data, and that was the biggest wake-up call.
Really?
To overlay my data onto this kid.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you doing this? We're on like the same bike. I was like, how are you doing this? And that's where I had to, really learn how to ride a bike.
Hey, hang on a minute.
You're like,
we're missing a bit here.
I need to really up my game. But yeah, that the junior world championship was just another level again. Being in that team, you're essentially in, I don't know, you're in like a factory Honda team, and all of the bikes are just brand new. Everything is perfect. Or but just for me, I had a crew chief and two mechanics just for me, and a technical guy, and a rider coach, and you have like a chaperone as well who,
They blow your mind a little bit.
It's crazy, and everything's paid for. Everything, your food, your flights, crash damage, everything, everything is paid for, and that was insane because you are on the previous year's Grand Prix, Moto 3 bike, and I was on John McPhee's 2017 bike. That's the bike that I got, which was really good. But by 2020, it was 4 years old, and
and you were 10 kilos heavy.
Yeah, it was a bit tired. When really I'd lose out on the straights anyway, and I'll have to dig really deep to make it up in the corners.
But that's the bit that's the secret to doing CEV, and to a point, Scott suffered the same, not fate, because I think he had a little bit more help from Dorna, from Anna Espeleta, because they were really keen to get a British rider through into Moto 3 at that point. But for your physical stature against the little Spanish jockeys that are coming, was Tatay in there at that point? Carlos Tatay
was in it the first year I did CV.
He went on, he's still in Moto 3 Grand Prix now, but I can't remember what I was reading, but it said the optimum height and weight for a Moto GP rider, I think, is something like 5'6" and 65 kilos. That's for Moto GP.
Yeah.
For Moto 3, you can knock a couple of inches off and at least 10 kilos.
Yeah.
And you can't help your physical, so you can't help your genetics.
I know.
And it's nothing to do with riding ability, but while you're giving away 10 kilos to somebody else, law of physics says that's not going to work.
I just grew too early because I've stopped growing. Since I was 15, 16, I've stopped. I'm 19 now, and I've stopped growing. I just grew too early, and that's where I go unlucky. I think in this sport you need luck. Of course you do. You need money, talent, and luck. That's what they say. Usually
in that order, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
Although you would rather have it as talent, luck, and money.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, and it's for the way the sport is at the minute. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but luck does have a huge part to play, and I got a lot of good luck coming from British Talent Cup, coming in at the right time, and the Dorna support coming in at the right time to take me to CEV. That was just lucky. That was just being at the right place at the right time. But then the bad luck comes in where I grow too fast.
Peaks and troughs, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's how you deal with the troughs that make the peaks even better. Would you agree?
Yeah.
How did you deal with when you the 2 years that you did in CEV? When did you realise that this maybe ain't going to work? And how did you deal with that?
In my point of view, I thought everything was going really good. I enjoyed riding the bike. I liked being in the Spanish Championship. I really enjoyed riding it. To be fair, it's rookies, the Rookies Cup, where everyone's on the same bike. That's where I struggled a lot with the weight. But in CEV, you're in factory Honda. The bikes, they're quite fast.
There's some power there.
Yeah. So my weight didn't affect me as much as what it did in the other classes. But yeah, I thought things were going really well. I got a top 5. I managed to get a lap record at Portimao from Quattararo as well.
So that's not shabby either, is it?
I wasn't.
Say that again, one more time.
No, I can't do
We had this chat before, didn't we? I'm too modest for that. I can't say it again.
For me just to say that,
Thank you, mate. But, I'm pleased you did, because that also shows the listeners just at what level you have and are riding at.
Yeah, like I wasn't slouching. You know, I broke my hip, my pelvis in Jerez in 2 places, and then 3 weeks later, I get my first top 5 in Aragon, and that took so much, you know, just grit and determination, essentially, like to do that. And I get after I come in the box, everyone's clapping. I get a phone call as well from Carmelo, and he says, "Well done, Max," and you know, they're saying, "We're going to work really hard for you, like you've done a great job."
Okay, so what happened?
And then you know, about, I think it was a month later, we go to Valencia for the last round, and that's where you find out what's going on. And after the race Sunday, you know, they're like, "Yeah, all good, you're going to have a meeting at 6 o'clock, whatever." Everyone goes in one by one from the team. And my closest friend in the team was Billy Van Erd. He's Australian. So you're in the Asia talent team.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Asians in my team, Indonesian, Japanese. So he was the only English speaker really, but he was a legend. To have Billy with me was so good. But anyway, he went in first and he came out and he weren't happy. He was like, "Bro, they've kicked us out. Bro, they've kicked us out." And I was like, "You know what?" And then anyway, we went in, and then Anna, I remember she slaps my knee. She goes, "Look, I know you're a tough kid, but with COVID and the reduced grid space, we've got no budget to take you."
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, what if I just stay here another year?"
Yeah.
Like, surely I can have another year. But no, there were nothing. So I wasn't happy at all. That was the worst night.
I can't even begin to understand that you literally pulling the rug from under you.
Yeah, because I really thought, well, I don't know. I did think I was going somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, it went back and forth a bit through the winter. And yeah, I just have to accept it. I don't have 100,000 euros to put into a different team and just to keep me racing. And
it doesn't guarantee success, does it?
No, that's just for 1 year riding a bike in a junior class, 100,000 euros, which is crazy.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah,
and some may have that backing, some don't, but it doesn't guarantee you a decent team either, and it doesn't guarantee you parity when you get in the team. Mm-hmm. That you think, well, and if you go into a team with if you got a Spaniard as a teammate, you can always going to be thinking, well, has he got? Mm-hmm. Because that happens. That's not made up. That's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you kind of think, well, hang on a minute. It's very political. And it was a bit of travesty that you didn't get your opportunity to do that. But what it did do then is open up the doors back here in the UK. We're taking under the wing of Darren Fry and Nigel Snook.
Yes.
At FS3. How did that come about?
So Nigel has a detail I missed out going back a little bit. In 2017, my dad actually set up FS3's hospitality unit.
Ah, okay.
Because of Fab, there was a link there with one of the team sponsors at the time, and Fab Racing. So the FS3 hospitality was at Fab as well as BSB. So my dad was the one who set it up. And yeah, that's how we got to know Nigel. And then I won that championship in 17. So Nigel took quite a big interest in helping me, helping a young rider. So yeah, he helped me loads through when I was in Europe. He made sure I was fit, made sure my training was done properly. He's helped me, smart ass, fifth, sixth year. And then when, I told him, I was like, look, this has happened. He couldn't believe it either. But then he was like, look, we can help you out here. We can get you a bike. Don't worry, you're going to be racing next year. So
that's a weight off, isn't it?
Yeah, because it was going back and forth all winter because I was tunnel visioned into I just want to be in that Moto3, Spanish champion. I want to be there. And it was going back and forth for ages, and it was actually until I think it was late January it was like, I've got nothing. And by then it's too late. Everyone's sorted.
Well, most people are sorted by the end of the previous season.
They were testing at that point.
Yes, everybody's already gone out.
And I don't have anything. And so that's when Nigel was like, look, I need to order this bike. We need to get it going. So yeah, I got the bike from Nigel, and he couldn't help me fully to run the bike. He helped me with any of the parts I needed, like and help K-Tech.
Yeah,
he helped with all those services, and everything was taken care of in that sense. But to actually physically run it was down to me and my dad. But my dad was helping James, who's in the British Talent Cup.
Yeah, he was in the British Talent Cup.
So
the legacy was continuing.
Yeah, so a lot of it was down to me. I had to look after that bike. I put it in the van. I looked after it. I had a toolbox in the van. I lived like a Guy Martin. I looked after the bike, which was crazy to have your dinner paid for the year before. You
used to have all the help that you had the year before to now
do it
kipping under the bike almost.
Honestly, it was crazy, but I learnt so much, and now I appreciate everything what's going into it.
Which is hugely important.
Yeah.
But to see both sides of it and to still be sat smiling, that would maybe a lesser rider would have crumbled at not getting the ride that they wanted. But you've got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and go, okay, that door's closed, this one's open, which then brings you back into the BSB paddock, into the Stock 6 Championship. Learning year last year. It's never an easy transition to go from Moto 3 to a Stock 6. The lines are different. I remember a few years ago chatting to Jordan Weaving about it, and I seem to think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the biggest single jump in power and weight that you will make through your career as you go Moto Star, as a for instance, to a Stock 6, going from 60 odd horsepower to 130 nearly, and 140, 50 kilos.
Yeah, about 160.
160 from the featherweight thing that you can pick up and turn around.
Yeah,
it's the biggest jump in power and weight that you'll experience.
Yeah,
how did you adapt?
Totally agree with that, because it's a proper bike. When the Moto 3 is your very wheels in line, you can whack on the gas as high as you can, and it's not going to go anywhere because it's only got 50, 60 horsepower, and it's not going to go anywhere. And then narrow, skinny tyres. The Moto 3's a light, and you jump on a 600, and it's bulky. Like the fuel tank's massive. Like everything's just
seats are wider, big. The tank's wider, the bars are further apart.
Yeah, everything's just really big. Like you're certainly not cramped on it. Like I remember sitting on the Kawasaki for the first time, and I was like, "Ooh, I could go on a cruise on this. I can take this out." But yeah, and actually getting to race it, the thing wheelies, it slides, it drifts, wheel spins, and you don't get that on a Moto 3. So it's you're learning how to ride.
Whole new riding style.
Yeah. So, and that, while having to maintain your bike and you don't want to crash it and all them stresses, it was a big year last year, totally. And I was really lucky. I've got another great sponsor, Neil. You see on my helmet, a lot of people ask questions, why you got Neil 44 on your helmet? And I tell him he owns an apartment resort in Tenerife.
Okay.
And he's seen a GoFundMe on Facebook about 2016-17 because he couldn't afford the crash damage, and he put the full amount in, and he was like, look, I'll come and see you. So that's another awesome sponsor I've got on board.
Perfect.
But without him and Nigel last year, I'd be at home. Totally be at home, because you have got nothing. I didn't have a name here. No one knew who I was, because when you do go into Europe, you get forgotten about, which is a shame. But
you do by some.
I know,
because it wasn't televised particularly often, was it? You could get it on YouTube, and if people wanted to watch it, or via the MotoGP app with the guys from Dorna doing the commentary on it. But it wasn't mainstream televised, so it was trying to pick it up from streaming to see what the British guys were doing out there. It's difficult to find it.
Like, it's only the people who followed me on social media from when I was in BSB. They were able to keep track, on Facebook or whatever, just to see how I was doing, because you never really know.
No.
You wouldn't know when it was going on. So that's what I struggled with as well last year. Is not many people knew who I was, and I didn't know them. I couldn't go to them for help, and it was quite a struggle. That's a massive struggle.
But that out of that struggle again, because one thing I enjoy doing on the podcast is focusing on the positives.
Yeah.
To then have the opportunity to ride for the guys at Binch Racing. Zach Corduroy rode it to third place last year, behind Jack and Joe. But he put in a fantastic performance. The bike was always mint. The delivery, I love. It's a fantastic. I was always a sucker for red and white. I'm sat here in black, blue, and gold, but I love a red and white livery. And a step then from the Kawasaki to the R6, which is a bit more of the bike to have. I think in Stock 6, that would be fair to say, wouldn't it? So how did that deal come about, and how have the guys helped you become the unstoppable force you are at the minute?
So again, this has a lot to do with Danny Webb. Actually, I was working, and I get a phone call, and he was like, Max, I've been talking with Dave. I think we should go to his house tonight. We'll have a meeting with him, just see what he's saying. I was like, all right, then, that sounds good. That sounds good. Literally that night, he picked me up, and we went to Mansfield, and had a chat with.
You okay
Dave.
Coming that far north?
Yeah, I'm all right. I coped.
Even it's only the Midlands, but it's still north for you.
Yeah. But anyway, it were great. I went to see him. I told him, what we've just been talking about, and I think he liked it. Yeah, I think he had a few other riders in the line as well. So he couldn't say yes at that meeting. But anyway, we spoke back and forth. I told Nigel what was going on, and Nigel liked the sound of it. And also, I'm close with Rory. I talked with Rory, and Rory just come off having a year at Appleyards.
Yeah.
He dominated, didn't he, in Supersport. So he knows the R6 is good. So he's there saying, he's like, Nigel, get Max on that Yam. He needs to get on the R6. Just because, they are the bike to be on.
Absolutely.
In the 600 class.
And Superbike.
Maybe. I don't think so. Not yet.
No, the Yamaha is. Not for you yet. But the Yamaha's a bike to be on.
Kawasaki's coming.
They're making steps, aren't they? They're coming big time.
They're coming.
You pay homage to your team. That's the way. So you started with being, it was announced at the bike show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the UGGLY&CO stand, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not a stalker. I just kind of remember things. Difficult start to the season at Silverstone. We'll kind of gloss over that one.
Yeah, please.
A little bit, because I know that it kind of didn't go down too well. So the season started for you at Alton Park.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, I know you set pole at Silverstone. You led every session.
Well, to be fair, no. We can go back to testing. Like that first Snetterton test was like. Obviously, I went with Binch knowing I just want to win this year. I want to just wipe the floor. I want to sort of I come with that anger.
Remind people who Max Cook is.
Yeah. That's what I want. And I remember going out at Snet and just riding the bike, just enjoying it, just actually enjoying riding this bike. And I do a lap, and it's like P1. And it's like plus 1.2. I'm like, what? Hang on, surely this ain't right. And I do another one. It's like, and the gap's getting, and I'm like, this is amazing. I see my lap time, and the lap time's like, it's really, really good. And already PBing what I did last year, and I thought the struggle all year I had, see it trying to break the top 10, top 5, and then to come round, it's just P1 plus whatever, and I'm like, what the heck?
It's a Max Cook show.
So, and then that was the mindset. It's just, I want that perfect lap. I want that lap record every lap. And from then, Silverstone, I'd go out and do 2 laps, and I'd see like it would way under the lap record. I was like, okay, good. I'll come in and I'll just park the bike and I'll just sit and wait.
Because you can.
It got like that, yeah. And we've done a lot of testing there anyway. So, and that's what I wanted to do. Alton, the same thing. I went there and I wanted that record because I think it was Mason Law who had it from 2015, I think.
Yeah, it would have been.
Hadn't been touched. No one went below the 40s in all them years. And it was Tyrone McKenzie, Mason Law who had it.
That's right.
And I just wanted it, and that's what I went for. And it was actually in that qualifying. I remember I put the new tyre in, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go for it now. And I went for it, and I was having all these moments, everything. I was like, yeah, I'm on it, coming over the crest, I'm having wobbles everywhere. I'm like, I'm on it. And then I come in, and Dave was like, yeah, you done that 39, what you wanted, good job. And the whole steering damper was just wobbling on the...
Jesus.
It was just hanging off.
And you've no idea when that broke.
I was just so focused on getting that time, and I thought I was on it.
Yeah.
I thought I was just...
So you just thought it was the bike moving around under what you were doing.
But my damper had fell off.
Your damper had fallen off.
So anyway, when the damper was fixed...
What could you do with the fixed damper?
I went like half a second quicker in the race, and I just obliterated... No, not obliterated, but I broke that record again. Yeah, twice. And we had 2 races that day, and... my fastest laps from both races were split apart by 0.001. Literally the same time, back to back.
That is ridiculous consistency.
I had my markers pointed everywhere. I knew exactly where to be and how fast to be there. And the lap time was just perfect.
Did you have... your sector times, you need to be at 22.1 for this, and then a minute and a bit for this, and
no, my bike's not that advanced. I don't have a full-on dash. I've still got the old clock.
Okay.
I've still got the old clock, and I've just got this little lap timer in the corner there, which just flashes up every time I go over the finish line. That's all I've got.
Sometimes that works better because you can focus, and I can't remember who we had on the show who was talking about that their fastest ever lap of a circuit was when their dash failed.
Yeah.
Because they weren't focused on what was in front of them. They were focused on what was in front of them.
Yeah.
And I forget, I can't for the life of me remember who it was. But yeah, there's an interesting side to that says maybe that's sometimes the way forward because you're too fixed on sector.
Totally, yeah, because in Junior World Championship, you've got this full, it's almost like a TV screen, full Delauto dash, and it shows your split sector. So you go through sector 1 and it says you're up by 0.2.
Yeah, so you green 0.2
you see a green bar 0.2. And then you keep going and you see another green bar and you're like, oh my god, I'm on a good lap here. But then you sort of bottle it in the last half of the lap and it does throw you off. It definitely
I think it probably does.
And last year I think it was even worse because I had a predicted lap time. I had a HM dash last year and it said my predicted lap time.
Does that take the piss a little bit?
Halfway around the track. Yeah, it did because at Brands Hatch, I remember the lap record's like, I think it's 30.0 the lap record is. And I came round and it said like 29.8 or whatever halfway around the lap. I was like, no, you're joking. And I bottled it.
Because it's detracting from your concentration.
Because I wanted to keep the lap.
Yeah.
But my brain was just fogged.
That's understandable because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But that then takes everything out from what you're doing.
I only matched it. I matched the lap record. Unfortunately.
You matched the lap record?
That's more annoying.
It is.
Isn't it?
You'd rather lose by 1.2 seconds than 0.2.
Yeah.
Because you know then you've been beaten, it's fine. You can deal with that. But if you mugged at the line by the width of a tyre.
But, yeah, I think when it go to gadgets and all that stuff, that's all I got. It's just the clock.
Perfect. So how's that served you this year? How many lap records do we have and how many wins have we had so far?
What race are we on? 5 or 6?
This is round 6.
Round 6.
You've had a couple of double races, haven't you? And a couple of there's one this weekend. There's only one at Brands, wasn't there?
I think we've had
7 races. 7 races.
7 races so far.
Forget the first one.
Yeah, first one, got taken out.
Yeah.
First lap.
Fifth corner.
Yeah. Bit annoying.
Yep.
But anyway,
you were all very cross about that because you were outside our garage.
Oh, very cross.
Yeah, very cross about that.
Very
so
cross.
We shall move on from that one.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, and then then we went on a good winning streak. Alton, won both races. Donington won the race, lap record, and then Knockhill wasn't a smooth weekend because it was wet and cold and
horrible.
I've not been to Knockhill for 5 years.
I was at home with COVID. I've still never been to Knockhill.
I mean, you can go if you like. It's a long way.
Not for me.
It's a long way. Is it not?
This is further for Thruxton now. Is further for me than Knockhill.
No
because
way.
I live north of Manchester now.
Oh.
So I live up near Burnley.
You're north.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Sounds very north.
It's Wales. Well, no, because I'm Lincolnshire born and bred, you see.
Fair enough.
And I've served at Bryce Norton for 4 years, so I've moved around a little bit. And
that's okay.
So I've got like a fairly neutral... We've got a little bit of a northern twang, but it's a fairly neutral accent. I'm 20 miles closer to Knockhill than I am to Thruxton.
Okay.
And this is my first visit to Thruxton as well.
Fair enough, okay. Well, to be fair, I am working my way up north. I am actually...
venturing.
I'm venturing up there because I'm sort of living with my girlfriend. We're from Ashby, so I live down the road from Mackenzie.
Okay, so
Dixon.
you're fairly central there. That's
so
good.
Yeah. I am working my way up.
That's good. That's your Midlands, so you're all right there. It's all right.
Yeah. I'm not. This is my home track. Really.
Absolutely is.
But Donington is literally 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
What? We've gone well today.
Yes.
We're Friday at the moment at Thruxton, so we've got a weekend ahead. One race, qualifying tomorrow, which is in 24 hours, I think. As we sit here, it's 5 to 6. And I think you'll just about finish qualifying this time tomorrow.
Yeah.
You've had a massive gap between. But obviously the aim is to win the championship this year, the Junior Superstock Championship. What's the long-term plan post that? Would you, as we sit here now, would you prefer to go the super sport route, or would you prefer to go straight into superbikes as Ryan Vickers has done, as Storm Stacey did, just without, not talking for Nigel or for anybody else, from Max Cup, which way would you prefer to go?
Sorry, that's my phone.
Anyway,
for me, I prefer it. It's hard because you can think short term, superbike's great.
But it'll take you 3 or 4 years to learn it.
It's going to be another year of being maybe out the point. I don't know. I've never ridden a superbike.
No,
so
but
I
potentially, if you look at Ryan Vickers, who monstered the season, it's taken him 3 years to kind of get.
Yeah.
This is season 4 now, I think, for Ryan. So it's either season 3 or season 4, and he's slowly but surely coming to grips with it. Storm's the same. I think he's definitely in season 3 now. For me, I like that Supersport route still. There's 1 or 2 going around the Superstock 1000 route. Charlie Nesbitt's going stock 1000 route. If that brings him into the Hawk Superbike team, then perfect.
Yeah.
Jack Nixon the same. Joe Talbot's doing the same. But I'm still a fan, especially from a Yamaha perspective, and maybe from the Kawasaki side of it as well. The Supersport route, for me, is your Taron McKenzie's, your Rory Skinners, your Brad Rays, your Kyle Rides, all ex-Fab racers.
Yeah.
That's, for me, I think, still the route to become a superbike rider quicker.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be shot down on that. I don't ride, so that's just my own view.
No. I think Super Sport, obviously it's the same bike as what I'm riding. It's just a little bit faster.
That's it.
So, I'll know the bike.
Why would you not?
And I think I could be on the podium, more or less straight away. I think that's where I would have liked to have been. Because me and Rory are following a really similar path.
Absolutely, you are.
Really similar path. But Rory went straight to Supersport on a Kawasaki, and then had a year on the Yam in Supersport.
Yeah.
Whereas I've done the same thing, but just in the stock class.
Yeah.
So it is similar. It is really similar, and I think I've ridden 1,000 quite a lot. It's like the first time I rode 1,000, I was 15. That's another story. Neil got me on. We were around Catalonia with Troy Corsa, and that was awesome. But yeah, I've ridden 1,000 quite a lot. I've ridden an R1. Not ridden a Kawasaki yet. but I'd like to.
Time will come.
Like to one day. But yeah, I think for the long term, the Supersport might be a way forward. You know, hopefully win some race, keep my name up there, keep riding that wave, and then I'll have, you know, I'd really deserve to be in that superbike class.
2 questions to finish. Same 2 questions I always ask. First question is a 2-parter. Favourite corner and why? That's your first one. Any track you've ridden, any bike, what's your favourite corner and why?
Can I give you 2?
Of course you can.
So today, coming out of church has really made me smile.
I'll bet.
I've not ridden this track very much. I know it's my own track, but
no, you don't get a chance to. There's no track days or anything.
No,
it's not an MSV circuit, so you don't get the access to it.
But I really enjoyed that today.
Good.
And my next favourite corner is at Portimao.
Okay.
You drop down the last corner at Portimao.
Oh, the big right-hander.
There's a crest, and then it drops really steep down the hill,
and then you climb back up to the start finish.
And when you're on the Moto 3, you don't brake. You're on the limiter going in, and then it goes over the crest, and the bike goes light, and then you just get back on the gas, and then the bike just perfectly just sits in the corner, and you just like slingshot it around.
Brilliant.
And that's awesome, especially when you're behind a few people, and you can get like a drag. Yeah. To the line, like that's awesome. That is. I know there's plenty more, but that's what I can
the
give
first
you
2 that come to mind
on the spot. Like
yeah. Oh yeah, I like it on the spot. Because people go, because you expect you to say, "What's your favourite track?" Because that's too easy.
No, that's good.
Final question: what's your best hire car story? And we didn't preempt this one either.
No.
So this is
any warning.
No, nobody gets warning for this one unless they've listened to the podcast.
Oh no, we've had a lot. I've had a lot there. That's the thing. You know, you get the odd ones where like Brits, you know, forget to drive on the other side of the road, and car comes down, and you're flagging them because they're on the wrong side, but it's actually us. And
I think that happened to Jama Masia last week.
The highlight is my mechanic James Ansell for Red Bull Rookies. We had a Fiat 500 convertible. Fiat 500 convertible, and we were running late for the flight. We were flat out down these roads coming back from Mugello, and we hit a massive rock, and it punctured both the wheels, and we were about 2 hours away still from Pisa airport, and couldn't get any recovery, so we had to ditch the car. We got a taxi from there to the airport, and we missed the flight, and it was about midnight, and they booted us out of the airport for 4 hours.
Until it opened again.
And then we had to get like a flight to Ireland, Dublin, and then come back, and he missed his daughter's birthday, and it was chaos. At the time it was bad. But that's probably the safest one I could say.
Because we know there are others. Yeah. We know there are others, especially if you've been abroad with Fraser Rogers. We know there are others. He seems to crop up quite regularly with hire cars and things like that, especially when we spoke to Holly last season about it all. Max Cook, thank you so much. For somebody who didn't think he was going to talk too long, you've done an hour.
I know, it's a record.
That's good, that, isn't it?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on, mate. I wish you all the very best for the rest of the season with Binch Racing, powered by UGGLY&CO. And a massive thank you to UGGLY&CO for letting us use their rider lounge here at Thruxton. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Let's catch up again.
Thank you. No, it's been great.
Once again, a big thank you to Max Cook for his time, and to UGGLY&CO for the use of their rider lounge down on their trade stand. Thank you very much indeed, fellas. It's much appreciated. Next week, Pirelli National Superstock contender Aussie Braden Elliott joins us. It's a fascinating story of how he came to be riding in the UK, what he did before he came over here, and the trials and tribulations of life while he's been here. Another great story from another great guy. Really looking forward to you guys hearing that one. We're going to Cadwell next weekend. That should be a fantastic time. Party in the Park returns at the best racetrack in the world. There are other racetracks available, but for me, Cadwell is the best racetrack in the world. The first track I ever went to at the age of 5 years old, back in 1978. Stop sniggering at the back. I can hear that. Yes, I am that old. But we're looking forward to being back there. Different to Thruxton in so many ways, and we'll see what the results are, but the racing is sure to be fantastic. If you go in, give us a wave, give us a shout, come and say hello. If you're not, enjoy the action on the TV, and we'll be bringing you a handful of chats from Cadwell over the next couple of weeks. As always, thanks for listening. Until next week, look after yourselves. We'll catch you then. Bye-bye.